Now we are going to look at all parameters that we can define after creating our new application. In the automatically generated information, we have the production key, the fundamental connecting element for all interaction with the APIs, as previously mentioned. The highlighted value is the app identification used to interface with OnStage. Now we access the second tab, the ACL tab, where all accessible endpoints are listed. As explained previously, the app can't currently access any endpoints since no endpoints have been enabled yet. Use drop-down menu to locate the desired API, in this case the Pet Store API, or alternatively use the search bar. Enable desired endpoints by easily selecting or deselecting desired endpoints. In a real-case scenario, we would like to be very specific. For the demo, we'll enable all endpoints instead. Now select the third tab, the Throttling tab, which is the list of traffic rules to limit the access to the API for this specific application. For this example, we will set our parameters to block the application if the Pet Store API receives more than 10 calls per minute. Select Minute and insert the limit of 10 calls. There are two policy consequences, block and log. Select Block. It's possible to immediately verify the newly enabled settings. Select Tab 4, Documentation tab. Here we find all necessary documentation to interface with the API. Using the unique application key, we can simulate the application behavior. Here we can access all available methods of the API. We can see how to call to the model scheme, and we can also see the possible responses. As previously noted, it's possible to call the API to test the parameters by using the Try It Out button. Now we can see here the actual responses to the API calls. Let's test our throttling setting and call the API 10 times. And so, after 10 calls, we notice that all subsequent calls within the minute will be blocked. The API responds by sending the relative message, in this case 403. Content type null is shown because an error occurred. The next tab is the IP address tab. This function permits calls without an identification key to be identified through an IP address instead. This function is useful when we already have distributed applications which use IP addresses and that we don't want to modify, but we still want to allow them access to the APIs without the identification key. In these cases, the system automatically recognizes applications through IP. This function is also useful in a case where the client loses the control of a situation, where they cannot manage the volume of calls. Our API manager can monitor this type of problem because OnStage can easily work with implementations that don't use an identification token generated by OnStage and uses the IP address instead. So we are able to maintain retrocompatibility. The next tab, the IP restriction tab, lists all user restrictions based on specific IP addresses. The logic followed in this function is the same used for the whitelist or the blacklist of the routers, which determine which IP addresses may or may not call the system.